Hello, everyone. Welcome to 1.5 Degrees, the podcast where together we explore the science, solutions, and stories involved in the fight against climate change. I'm your host, Heidi Pan, speaking with the professionals behind the latest research, policies, culture, and innovations shaping our response to global environmental challenges. For today's episode, we are honored to be joined by Jocelyn Sheppard, who is the founder and president of Appalachian Botanical Co., to discuss all things mineland reclamation, the power of a certain flower, advice for sustainable business practices, and more. Jocelyn, it's certainly an honor. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
To begin, can you tell me a little bit more about Appalachian Botanical Company and the work that you do?
Sure. I founded Appalachian Botanical Company in 2018 as a company that would grow lavender on reclaimed coal mine land in southern West Virginia in order to harvest and distill to get the lavender essential oil. Presumably that's the certain flower you were referring to
Yes.
a moment ago, right? Okay. All right. And we bottle and sell the lavender essential oil and the hydrosol mist byproduct. And we also use those elements as ingredients in other value added products that we make and sell, including a luscious body cream, 2 really nice body oils, and several other products. So we've been growing since 2019. We've been manufacturing and selling since 2020. And we are up to about 52 acres of lavender under cultivation. And we are in about 55 stores, mostly in West Virginia and the surrounding states. And I am proud to say we have shipped orders to every state in the United States and the District of Columbia.
That's really awesome. And you also, I also believe that you work with bees as well. That's really awesome.
We do have bees, though. We like a lot of other folks over these past 2 seasons in West Virginia, we've had something come through and knock out most of our hives. So we're in a rebuilding mode there. We're feeling really good, though, about how our bees are taking hold this season, and we're looking forward to having as many as 4 different types of honey, which I can name for you because I'm sure you want to know. We have a plain honey, a lavender honey, true lavender honey, not a plain honey infused with a sprig of lavender. We also will have, depending on what is blooming there when the bees are busy, we will likely have goldenrod honey and a wildflower honey.
That's really cool. Oh my gosh. I'm really sorry to hear that bees aren't doing well, but I'm glad to hear that they're gonna be doing well. I did read about how kind of like the kind of founding story. I do want to ask, how did Appalachian Botanical Company come to be? Like, did you ever think that you would be doing what you do now?
I know. If I were wanting to see lavender and be surrounded by it, I think I would go to France. It's lovely being in West Virginia, but it's not Provence. Anyway, that there is a cool backstory, which is back in 2016, the Regional Technology Park in Southern West Virginia came up with the idea of trying to grow lavender on a former strip mine. And they got a Benedum Foundation grant, and they got an Appalachian Regional Commission power grant to underwrite that demonstration project. So I wasn't there in the beginning. I was there late in the first year when they wanted to apply for the ARC grant, needed help preparing that proposal, preparing the feasibility study. And so this kind of taps into my 20 years as a consultant and grant writer. So that's how I came on board, got involved. And then when the project was funded by ARC, I stayed on the team. I was a technical writer, planner, and I worked at building relationships with community stakeholders. And it was just really great. And it was amazing to see how well the lavender did on what's otherwise poor soil in a location where nobody would really want to do much of anything with it. It's too hard to get to, it's too vertical. You know, you can get the picture of that. So that grant was winding down and we were all going our separate ways. And I was just left there saying, I'd really like to turn this into a commercial enterprise. Actually, I'm skipping a small step, which is I tried seeing if I could interest people in a collective approach, small growers coming together and then finding a way to distill and bottle and sell, which was crazy ambitious. So I did a major face plant there in the spring and summer of 2018.
Mm.
And so I pivoted and said, it needs to be a single commercial location. I mean a location where we could grow at commercial scale,
Mhm.
and get a lease, get an investor, and do all the things to build it more as a straightforward commercial enterprise. I would like very much in the future to be able to work with other small growers in the state or in the region and do something toward having a collective once we're more sustainable as a business.
Mm. Yeah, that totally makes sense. That's interesting that you have like those aspirations for the future. I think that's really awesome. You already do so much in terms of like diversifying, I guess, the economy in West Virginia. Because this is something that's like really quite unique, actually. I really, prior to coming across this, I haven't heard of anything in terms of like land reclamation like this with
Mhm.
lavender. Currently, like anything prior to that, I had been hearing of like reforestation. So I guess why would lavender be so much better? Because it's really interesting. Why is it so much better than reforestation in mineland reclamation?
Well, for a couple of reasons, and I'm pausing a moment so that I can kind of pull them
Hmm.
together in my head here. Okay, for one thing, reforestation takes a while. It could be 10, 15, 20 years before those trees are deemed to be quote unquote productive, and therefore the coal operator who has the reclamation bond on that particular part of the mine can get that bond money back because they fulfilled the third phase of their obligation. Um,
Hmm.
Another reason we like lavender better. Well, it's so beautiful, but seriously, it puts people to work.
Hmm.
With reforestation projects, I've never been involved directly in one, but I've been told by a coal operator that what happens is they hire a company from out of state who comes in and plants a whole bunch of trees
Hmm.
and they go away.
Yeah,
So
that's not very sustainable.
it's not very sustainable if what part of what you're doing, like we are, is trying to establish roots, pardon the pun, in the local community.
Mhm.
Part of which we do by hiring local people to come up on the hill and take care of our lavender fields. And it was a very cool moment for me a couple of years ago when I was up visiting the farm, and one of the workers motioned for me to come over and said, "Look." I said, "What?" He said, "I can see my house from here."
Oh,
I don't think
that's
he ever envisioned having a job that would let
mm,
him stay in his local community and make above minimum wage when he himself probably had a high school diploma and maybe a little experience working at a fast food restaurant.
yeah. No, it's really awesome that your company also does like I believe it's called second chance employment. Yeah.
Second, exactly. It's very important to us to be able to say to people, if you are at least 18 years old and you're willing to work hard and learn and you will show up, we are interested in hiring you, and we're interested in teaching you skills that include agricultural skills. They might also include machinery skills. We even do some sessions on life skills. All right, so those people are invited into work,
Mm.
um, and the reason they need a second chance could be um, growing up in poverty, not finishing high school, lacking regular transportation, being survivors of domestic violence, having been incarcerated at some point previously, or involved within the what do you call it, the judicial system,
Yeah, yeah.
um, and in general having had run-ins with various aspects of the system where they either made some bad choices or the system let them down, or some combination
Mhm.
of the above. I want to hurry up and say that it doesn't always work,
Mm.
in case I'm anticipating your next
Mm.
question, Heidi, which is no, not everybody is ready, or not
Mm.
everybody's in that place in their life where uh, they can handle the pressure and the responsibility of a regular job.
Mm.
So what we try to do, which we frequently do, is leave the door open
Mm.
and say, when you are in that better place, let's talk about you possibly coming back.
I actually wasn't going to ask about that, but that's really interesting to because it really is about it. It doesn't always work, but just to have that option available for people is so important. That's really great that your company is able to be able to do that.
Well, it's also practical, Heidi,
Mm,
because when it comes to the labor pool in Boone County, there's by being
there's
open in this way, it makes it
yeah.
that much easier to
Mm.
hire, or at least try to hire locally. And I might be jumping ahead to the advice part that
Oh
you
no, no,
referenced
yeah.
in your introduction. I think hiring locally is also acknowledging that making this work, creating these solutions, having the lavender grow so successfully up there on the hill, it's part of letting it be a solution that comes from within the community instead of me or some of the people that are supporting me thinking, oh, we're coming in from the outside. We have the solutions,
Mm.
right? Just do what we
Yeah,
say
yeah.
and it will all be wonderful. I really like the idea that as we've grown and prospered, we have people in the community who work directly for us, or maybe who are related to our workers, or just their friends and neighbors. They look to us and they like what they see happening. I think because they see us creating the jobs to the greatest extent possible in the community.
Wow, that's really awesome. I did actually want to ask about like kind of how this like you call it a sort of like triple oh it's a
Triple bottom line.
triple bottom line. Yeah. And
I don't get to take credit for coming up with the concept. It's been around for a while. It's where for-profit enterprises value not only creating the profit, but value investing in people and also the investing in place so that all three benefit and prosper as the organization grows and matures.
yeah, it's a win-win-win all around. That's really awesome.
Well, and speaking of win-win-win,
Hmm.
um, we're happy because we have a 15-year agricultural lease with a land company.
Mm,
The land company already leased out the property to a coal operator who came in and extracted what they could, and they put
mm,
stuff back and then they go
mm,
away, right?
yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Leaving the land company with not much to do with this land once it's been used for extraction.
Hmm.
All right. So, they just hold on to it, right? It's not making them any money. But here we come along and we pay them a rent,
Mm,
and we pay them a small royalty on the back end for the hydrosol and the essential oil that we produce. So they get a revenue stream. Meanwhile, separate entity is the coal operator who has a lease with the land company and who has the reclamation permit with the West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection. So it's the coal operator that's on the hook for taking care of that reclamation obligation. And in this case, the company self-bonded. So they've put up millions of dollars
mm,
as a promise that they are going to make sure the water is good, the land is more or less put back and is not poisoned.
hmm.
And finally, in phase 3, and that's where we come in, the coal operator has to prove that the land is being put back into productive use.
Mm,
So if we can get them out of their phase 3 obligation, 5-10 years faster than they would have if they had stuck with their original plan of planting trees.
mm,
And meanwhile, we have an opportunity to grow lavender in a place that's very conducive to it.
mm.
It's another form of win-win-win.
Yeah, no, for sure. I was curious because this seems to be like I've only heard this happening in West Virginia, and you mentioned that it's like the kind of area is conducive to lavender farming. Do you think that this might possibly be like a reclamation method that can be applied to other places in the future or expanded in some way?
I think so. And this is the part where I need to say, uh, we didn't invent this concept
Mm,
of reclamation. Uh, it, the Coalfield Development Corporation is a pioneer in in this approach to putting the land and the people back to work. They've been at it for over 10 years now. They've been cited in the New York Times, very, very successful as a nonprofit organization with a number of very impressive programs under their umbrella. So shout out to Brandon Dennison and Coalfield Development. And in fact, they've done some work with lavender in another part of West Virginia. They've done some work with bees, and I kind of borrowed from them shamelessly when I saw they had this amazing program where they took people who were displaced in the energy industry because of the big coal downturn, say in coal mining, closures of mines and so forth. And they offer a program where they employ people for 30 hours a week. They expect them to enroll in a local community college or some sort of course for 3 hours a week. And then there's 3 hours a week allocated to professional development or personal development, may be a better term. They're in some maybe a group counseling session or other things that help them build up that side of their lives. And so Coalfield Development really modeled something wonderful, and to some extent we've been able to emulate that with what we're doing over on the commercial enterprise side. The big answer is, if you've got the land, you've got the labor pool, and you have the technical know-how and the money to back it, yes, this could be replicated, whether it's with lavender or another high-value botanical crop or another type of crop altogether. I think some of the pressure is on selecting the right crop to grow, where there's demand for it, and so that you're making some good financial decisions around this model.
Yeah, no, I find it very interesting how kind of lavender really fits into all of the pieces of like it does well in poor soil, but it's also like you can turn it into value-added products, which is just, it's very, really interesting. And you also in your production process, like I've read that you use kind of like all parts of the plant. Is that like also like a sustainable process that like other companies can totally learn from?
Certainly other companies can learn from it, and a lot of companies, especially in the agricultural production sector, definitely do it. We also refer to it as zero waste. Okay, so the lavender buds, the really small lavender buds, go into our lavender sachets. They go into pink Himalayan sea salt to make a really fabulous seasoning blend. The flowering tops are what get harvested and distilled for the oil and hydrosol. And then it's really cool, the stems, instead of composting those, we gather and bundle them. People purchase them and use them in their fire pits, their campfires, their fireplaces. Something toward the end of the evening, the flames have died down. So what you get is a nice incense-like aromatherapy, which also, shout out for our products, will help keep bugs away. We're getting to that.
Oh, awesome.
Right?
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Yeah, no, definitely.
And we'll talk, I imagine, about lavender in a little bit more detail in a moment. Let's just say, though, that those bundles are great for helping keep the mosquitoes away. So that's really very cool. So and as you probably know, lavender is a perennial plant. So if we take good care of it, give it a little bit of a shaping and prune it and harvest properly, that plant will be coming back for at least 15 years before we would need to replace it. Right?
Yeah. No, that's really cool that yeah, no, also definitely like the mosquito part, I definitely have to look into that because I'm starting to see them, and it's like it's a little early for that. But yeah, no, definitely. And also I will be sure to absolutely link all of the Appalachian products and stuff with this, of course, because it's really amazing what you do for sure. And definitely I do want to go into like you said, the part about like what exactly lavender farming entails and lavender in detail and stuff.
Well, I like talking about lavender, the plant, right? It goes back thousands of years as something that was cultivated, harvested, and distilled for perfume or for its other natural properties. When when I'm talking to people, I like to emphasize that lavender naturally contains terpenes that promote relaxation and calm. It is a natural insect repellent. It is a natural anti-inflammatory. So that's one of the reasons you see lavender appear so often in creams or that are designed not only to hydrate, but also soothe. Okay, so between the hydrating property of it, the soothing and calming property of it, the great smell, it's an all-around wonderful, it's like elderberry. It's like a super elderberry is called a super fruit, right? Because of all of its wonderful healthful properties. Lavender similarly has many healthful properties. I love it when parents will buy our sachet or our mist as a means of helping their kids settle down and go to sleep. And as one parent confided, well, it's better than giving them melatonin.
Yeah.
Right?
No,
Or
I
something,
agree.
more serious. So,
Yeah.
And lavender is also therapeutic for a lot of the people that we've hired to come and work in our fields. It doesn't mean they really like being out in the sun or even under a canopy when it's 100 degrees or hotter out there. The sun is shining and the wind is blowing. But in general, it's a beautiful environment. Working with the plants has been very good for some interns we've hired with mild cognitive disability. We've hired individuals with PTSD or with traumatic brain injury, people who, as you can imagine, would have difficulty. I think all of us do have difficulty leaving our I don't know, personal challenges and personal stresses at the door when we walk into work, right? Okay. So just acknowledging that a lot of the people we employ are dealing with a lot of stress, it is actually beneficial for them to be working with plants in general, right?
No,
Sort of the
yeah.
so-called dirt therapy, but also lavender itself. It's in general, it's calming to people and it's very satisfying to them when they see it bloom and it becomes so beautiful up there.
Yeah, no, I definitely have a personal love for lavender for sure. I'm very upset because I came home late, but I have like a pouch myself of just like dried lavender. Just to
Mhm.
like it's really nice to like just you smell it and that scent kind of calms you down for sure. Like I
That's right.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yep. Great for those long commutes.
Oh my gosh, no, yeah, that train. Yeah, no, definitely. So I guess like I do want to ask like, do you have like a favorite part of the work that you do?
That is a great question. I've really loved for the last year and a half going to market events
Mm.
and engaging with people, telling our story, sharing the product, getting feedback, um, and just seeing the look on their face when they put some of the cream on and go, "Oh, I have to have this," or "This is amazing," or "Here, honey, you have to try this."
Oh
Right?
my gosh,
They
yeah.
drag a friend or a family member over and it's not just because I want to sell our product, which of course I do, but it's it's just seeing the difference it can make for people almost immediately. I mean, when I'll say to somebody, "Would you like some cream?" and they hold out their hand, and I can see that their skin's very dry, and I'm excited because I know that what I'm about to put on
Mhm.
their hand is going to make a difference, and they can feel it right away and smell it, and it just makes them feel good. And I think I would always have wanted to do this, Heidi, but maybe especially in light of these last few years that we've had, the idea that people can come back out to markets and mingle and try things and feel better because of something we grow and we make. That feels really great.
That's really awesome. Yeah, no, especially. No, I totally agree with because of the last few years, that really in-person interactions are really special and to be able to I guess like I don't know, bond through kind of lavender
It
products. That's really great. Yeah.
it is. And so, and again, yes, I like to sell, making money obviously helps sustain what we're
Yeah.
doing. But I like that bonding part. You're absolutely right. It feels more like a relationship just a mere transaction.
Yeah.
And then it's so fun to see people who we meet at markets then come back online and purchase our products or post on social media about how much they like them and so on. And before I lose track of this, I did want to mention to your listeners that we are very much interested in locating retailers interested in carrying our products, and we have samples and I have literature I'm very happy to send out. So, in fact, Heidi, we have no one in New Jersey. I'm just
Oh,
saying.
interesting.
So, okay.
I will spread the word off for
Thank
sure.
you. Thank you.
If you could like turn back time, like butterfly effects aside, this is kind of like is there anything that you might say to yourself kind of like in the past who was starting out?
I would say understand what it's going to take to be sustainable. I think I underestimated what it would take in a couple of ways. One, I thought it would be enough to grow the lavender and harvest and distill it and sell wonderful oil and hydrosol. Okay, and we do that, and it's really great. But in order to have a company, I think maybe that's the what I'm talking about. How do you get from point A, being this idea that you want to put the land and people to work and you want to create a product and sell it, to make the leap over to actually building a company around it? I think that's the leap that I didn't fully articulate to myself or understand how we would solve it. And I think what we lacked early on, and so this is advice for my younger self, would be figure out your sales and marketing strategy, especially to where you can get to higher volumes of sales, because that's what you need in order to sustain and succeed. I did have some people come through who said, "Oh, I can do that for you. Here, pay me this money and I'll take it." Well, yes, that didn't quite work. No huge surprise there. I think it can be just this very long journey or a very short journey of creating a wonderful product and then having it on a retailer shelf.
Yeah, no, definitely. I guess that kind of goes into like general advice. I mean, it's kind of the same thing, but like, what is advice that you would give to someone who's kind of like interested in potentially like, be it starting a business or just wanting to get into sustainability?
Look around, find somebody who's doing it already, and see if an internship or an employment or simply going and visiting and talking is possible. Maybe get to know the people who are doing it already, and understand sort of what part of it appeals to you the most. Because I've already mentioned how much I enjoy the conceptualization of this, which led to us doing what we're doing and putting people back to work. That's socially very satisfying to me. I also like the in-person sales part, and as well as some other sales activities. There's a lot of stuff in between that still needs to be taken care of. So some of it I'm able to do, some of it I have other people that they do it. So I think this is boiling down to the advice of just know the part that you love the most or that you're the best at, and then figure out who else you need on your team. Because I don't think anybody's going to be able to do it 100% themselves.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's really important to keep in mind. Thank you for that. Yeah. So I mean, I do want to respect your time. So I mean, thank you so much. I really learned a lot from this. Yeah, I do want to ask, final question. Where can listeners follow your work, be it social media, website?
That's great. Thank you so much. We have a wonderful website, AppalachianBotanical.com, and there's no S on botanical, by the way. Okay. We are at Appalachian Botanical Co. on Instagram and on Facebook. We're thinking about Pinterest. We're waiting and watching to see what happens with TikTok. We're not so
Oh gosh,
sure,
no, that
not so sure about that. And we are on some wholesale platforms, including FAIR, FAIRE, where some companies come to discover independent brands. And we recently launched a presence on a platform called Range Me, which is where companies of all sizes come to discover new brands. So, and meanwhile, you can subscribe to my little newsletter. It's about once a week. In it, I like to say where I'll be at a market next, come and meet me. I would love for that to happen. And that is just go to the website, and it offers 20% off your first purchase for signing up for this newsletter. So that's another way to follow our news.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
And some samples are on their way to you, Heidi.
Oh my gosh. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.